There's a city where ocean air once carried strange rhythms and sailors brought back more than stories. On the rainy streets of Liverpool, a generation grew up hearing sounds that came not just from distant radios, but from suitcases, jukeboxes, and the worn hands of men who'd seen the world. Every boat that docked on the Mersey in the 1950s and 60s unloaded not only cargo, but records from New York and Memphis, Cuban melodies, fragments of American blues tucked into the baggage of Cunard Yanks, the young men crewing Liverpool's great liners. Soon those 45s became the secret language of basement clubs and borrowed guitars. But here's the strange part. Liverpool wasn't just a gateway for records, but for people. In these docks, you could meet someone from almost anywhere. A merchant from West Africa, a sailor from Shanghai, Irish teenagers hoping for a new life, all in one night. No other British city had so many bands per block by the late 50s. And some say you could hear a new riff every night, all thanks to this constant churn of crews and cultures. How did a battered port city, written off in the shadow of London, hatch a sound so contagious it swept the world? The answer starts with the water, but it doesn't end there. Before the first Beatles chord ever rang out, Liverpool was already humming to its own unpredictable rhythm. The secret link between sailors and songs? That's the mystery we're following tonight. To understand why Liverpool became a musical laboratory, you have to see how its restless geography shaped everything. For centuries, the River Mersey pushed Liverpool to the edge, a city always looking outward, defined by tides and ships. By the late 18th century, Liverpool had built Britain's first enclosed dock, and soon it boasted more dock space than even London. Sail-driven trade with West Africa, the Americas, Ireland, China, everywhere, made the city a crossroads, the Liverpool Triangle spinning goods one way, people another, and stories in every direction. With trade came transformation. By the 19th century, Liverpool became one of Britain's most important ports, vital for sending Lancashire's cotton-spun goods across oceans and welcoming immigrants and sailors home. That traffic brought change. Liverpool grew diverse, with the UK's oldest black community and Europe's oldest Chinese community, extraordinary for any British city. The city was a jumping-off point for millions who left England and Ireland for North America, and for many more who stayed and remade its streets. The thrum of industry and the churn of migration shaped its neighborhoods as much as its skyline. But prosperity didn't last forever. After World War II, Liverpool's docks, so long its lifeblood, began declining. Big ships switched to containerization, trade shifted south, and bomb damage lingered from the Blitz. Work dried up, and so too did confidence in the old order. But out of this rough, uncertain climate, something else grew. A hunger for escape, for sound and movement, something to cut through the fog. And that's where the sailors come in, along with all the music, longing, and noise they dragged back from their crossings. What happened next would set Liverpool apart from any other British city and make a noisy club cellar the center of a pop revolution. All that movement of ships, people, and hope poured into something new. In Liverpool, music wasn't just background noise, it was how young people mapped the world. By the late 1950s, the city swelled with bands, over 350 of them, playing in packed cellars or dance halls, some just strumming in kitchens. This wasn't just inspiration, but access. The stream of records and instruments from U.S. ports, carried across the sea by the Cunard Yanks. The Cunard Yanks, Liverpool's young merchant seamen, served on ocean liners bound for New York and Montreal. When they came home after months away, they brought back clothing, slang, and especially musical treasures. American rhythm and blues, rock and roll, rare blues, and country 45s. These sailors became the city's musical couriers. In an era when American music was hard to come by, the Mersey flooded it in. Clubs stocked jukeboxes with Memphis and Chicago singles. Teenagers, sometimes the sons or neighbors of sailors, pressed their ears to spinning vinyl, copying the twang of electric guitars or the swagger of a blues shuffle. They learned by ear, replaying the same 3 seconds until their fingers caught up, trading chords like contraband between school lessons. Here's the strange part. You didn't need money to play. The parallel skiffle craze offered a do-it-yourself path. Skiffle took fragments of American folk, blues and jazz, mashed with homemade instruments, washboards, tea-chest basses, battered guitars. A tea-chest bass was exactly what it sounds like. A shipping crate, a broom handle, and a single string, thumped until it kept time. Anyone could build one in an afternoon, and thousands did. Lonnie Donegan's hit Rock Island Line set off an explosion. By the late 50s, there were tens of thousands of amateur skiffle groups across Britain. Liverpool's youth were especially hooked. Among them, teenagers who called themselves the Quarrymen. John Lennon, just 16, started it. Paul McCartney joined in, then George Harrison. This trio became the Beatles. The Cavern Club, a converted fruit cellar, became their proving ground. From 1961 to 1963, the Beatles played there nearly 300 times under sweating brick arches on a stage barely a step above the crowd. But this wasn't just the Beatles. It was a citywide fever. Jerry and the Pacemakers, the Searchers, Cilla Black, and hundreds more sharpened their sound within the same walls. The music became known as Merseybeat, bright, guitar-driven, energetic. It borrowed American rock and roll's chug, R&B harmonies, snippets of soul and doo-wop, blended with local ballad tradition and a love of group singing. The signature? A sharp backbeat, catchy riffs, and harmonies that made songs feel communal and urgent, like a dockyard chant carried on a Saturday night. What they played reflected Liverpool's swirling world. The optimism in electric guitars, the melancholy of DIY ballads, the constant edge of something imported and unfamiliar. The city's sound became contagious. Night after night, sailors might return to find last week's record woven into a new local anthem. Ports bring new things, but in Liverpool, those things learned to dance. And then the outside world noticed, a magazine called Merseybeat, and a worldwide ripple that soon upended not just Liverpool, but pop music itself. So, why Liverpool? Why did this sound, raw, rhythmic, bursting with energy, take hold here, and not in neighboring Manchester or London? The answer stretches further than taste or luck. Geography stacked the deck. Liverpool's port funneled a unique mix of influences. With ships steaming in daily from New York and New Orleans, sailors carried American 45s, blues, jazz, R&B, and gospel, not just on records, but in memory and habit. The city's position, opening onto the Atlantic, sheltered by the Mersey, meant its docks drew crews from the U.S., Caribbean, West Africa, and China, long before any other British city did. This breadth produced a fascinating churn in the city's DNA. Immigrants became neighbors, sailors became legend, and a rotating cast of new arrivals refreshed the musical gene pool every week. Trade brought sound, but it also fueled aspiration. Liverpool's youth measured themselves by the cargoes passing through. The fashion sailors offloaded, the windfall of American records hitting the pubs and parties. The term Cunard Yanks didn't just describe men who sailed. It captured a whole posture, cosmopolitan, forward-looking, ready to blend cultures as easily as changing shirts. Crucially, the city's economic ups and downs gave its music urgency. When work was good, bands played to packed, optimistic crowds. When unemployment bit, music was an escape. But always, the answer for Liverpool's musicians was to look outward. To Hamburg's clubs, where the Beatles cut their teeth, to American R&B, to any rhythm broadcast over foreign radio. The music's defining features, the strong backbeat, vocal harmonies, infectious refrains, weren't chosen by committee. They were shaped by the swirl of dances, imported showmanship, even the peculiar acoustics of cellars like the Cavern Club, where the damp, fruit-scented sandstone pressed sound into intimacy. Imagine, nearly 300 Beatles shows in a sweaty basement, grainy bricks steeped with music and stories. That's not just urban legend. 5,000 bricks from the original Cavern Club were auctioned off for charity when the club was demolished. Every element of Liverpool's geography, a city open to the world, yet battered by change, became etched into its music. Merseybeat was no accident. It was what happened when a big, complex port city decided to sing its insides out, and the world finally listened. But if the music's origins were local, its impact was about to crash ashore much further away. Out of Liverpool's damp cellars and salty air, an export was born. As Merseybeat broke free of its home port, the world cascaded in. Suddenly, American teens were mimicking Liverpool accents, learning the shuffle and harmonies brought across the Atlantic by city kids raised on dockside records. The Beatles, Jerry and the Pacemakers, the Searchers, Liverpool's ambassadors, led the so-called British invasion. In February 1964, the Beatles landed in New York, and within months, they held the 5 top spots on the U.S. Billboard chart, a feat never matched since. This wasn't just a chart story. Merseybeat dissolved the boundary between local sound and global culture. For the first time, pop music became tied to place, a distinctive accent, a jangling guitar, a certain syncopation that screamed Liverpool to the world. Soon, dozens of British acts followed, drawing on the same port-fed restlessness. Even bands outside Liverpool echoed its sound, its impulsive mix, and its insistent communal spirit. But here's the receipt. A 1961 local magazine called Merseybeat first gave the phenomenon its name. What started as basement noise and sailors' souvenirs became, for a moment, the defining voice of a generation. And just as quickly, the tide receded. By the 1970s, tastes changed. Liverpool's docks quieted, and many of its basement clubs faded into myth and memory. Yet, the legacy lasts. The communal energy, the urge to borrow and transform, the love of the new, all remain etched in the city's identity. And if you listen closely, past the myth, past the familiar records, you can still hear the shuffling echo of the sailors who started it all. But there's one last twist. What does Liverpool's story reveal about how all great music scenes are born? And when do we hear a city truly sing? The answer, the one that starts in Liverpool's docks and ends in playlists and record bins worldwide, isn't just about luck or even talent. It's about what happens when a city's barriers let down and its doors stay open. Liverpool's sound was forged in arrival and longing, because music always finds a way in where cargo and people flow freely. The scene wasn't just a random burst of genius. It was an outcome, one that could only happen where restless seas, worn-out hands, and hungry ears collided, again and again. The river gave Liverpool its rhythm, the sailors gave it new voices, and the city made those fragments its own. So next time you hear a jangling riff or harmonized chorus where you least expect it, remember, it might just be the echo of a port city's wild century, still riding out on the tide.